Well, it'll run on a 20 round PMag. I know that the sun's getting a little long in the day, guys, but I'm super excited about this one because this one is brand spanking new, or at least in its current form is brand spanking new. So if you came here, you probably came over from the YouTube channel. This is my brand spanking new SBR, and many of you will recognize this as an M85 NP. This is a Yugo pattern. It started life as a pistol, and then I had Ackless Defense convert it for me. So you'll notice the finish is not stock. This is a coat that they did for me on the thing. It's kind of like a mix of a silver and gold. I wanted something loud, and I think that they accomplished it. They also repolished the bolt in there to make it look super sleek. They added this Manticore Arms side folder, right? This thing locks, right? So this is locked. I can't get it unless I push on this button right here. See that button? If I push on that, locks into place, right? So super nice. Now what's neat about this gun are a couple fold. If you guys missed our video on the M85 NP, when you fold the cover, it's hinged, so it doesn't actually come off, right? So it's basically captive in there. So that's different from most AKs. And the other thing that you'll notice, obviously at the beginning, is that this thing is not chambered in 7.62 by 39. It is a 5.56 gun, and it runs on standard AR-15 magazines. There was a question on our Instagram when we posted this guy, does this adapter here fit X, Y, or Z gun? Guys, I don't know. It came like this. This is the way they were shipping. The originals had problems feeding off of 5.56 AK magazines, so they had a proprietary mag. It sucked, right? So they basically put this adapter on there. This is a polymer adapter, so just an FYI, but they put this adapter on there so that it could accept the standard AR-15 magazine. It works by pushing this little button right here in the same place as an AR-15 magazine release. My right hand's a little jacked up, so I can't really push it very well, to be honest. Getting old, right? And the magazines, I believe, will drop free. Yes, they will indeed drop free. At least a full one will. Let's get a muddy one here. And not so much. Need a little bit of assistance there for those. So one more thing that's neat is, and we're going to go ahead and charge this thing up for this, but so if I'm mid firing sequence, and I decide that I don't want to shoot anymore, I can put the safety on, work the bolt, right? And it does not pick up another one out of the action. So even if I turn this guy off, nothing happens. So I don't know why it's that way. That's just the way the Yugo pattern kind of works. So that is also different from an AK, as in typically when you put the safety on and work the AK to the rear, what it'll do is it'll actually it'll stop right there, and you'll be able to see that there is a round attached to the extractor instead of it just ejecting one. So just a little bit different. The sights on this thing, since I'm going to be waving this thing around, the sights, and of course you can see all this in the original M85 video. It's actually a rotary sight, so if we go like that, it flips and changes, right? And then the front has a low light setting on it. You got your standard kind of, oh boy, your standard kind of post there, but if you pull up on this thing, you get a nice fat one as well. And typically there's glow in the dark paint on those. This one didn't have it from the factory. So back when the Soviets were forward thinking. Now the brake on here is not stock. This is a Ackless part, as you can see on there. And it is a fire breathing monster, guys. The only sad thing about this is I cannot find, for the life of me, a suppressor adapter for this thread pitch, unfortunately. So I'm going to keep looking, see what I can find, but I would really like to try this gun suppressed. I have a couple silencers that would be compatible with this thing, but unfortunately right now I just cannot seem to find any of them. So they've all been out of stock, or, you know, I put a 30 cal can on it, I put a 5.56 can on it. I even have a Griffin Optimus that has a that's 9mm bore, but it's rated for 5.56. Like, I would throw that on this thing. I've contacted both Griffin and Rugged, and they do not suggest any kind of adapting apparatus to get a silencer on this. I've asked Griffin to make me one, and the jury's still out on that. We'll see if they'll do it for us. But enough yakking. We've already dirtied this one. This one's already muddy, so we'll just go ahead and go with it. Fiocchi is running great out of this gun. And even though it's a really clean burning ammo, like I said, it is a fire breathing monster. So here's to that neighbor that keeps calling the cops on us. Cool. See if an ETS mag runs. Steel. I've got a cattywampus piece of steel right there. See if I can shoot it from here. Got him. Gosh, man, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it is moving my whole camera setup when I do that. So I'm just gonna shoot the swinger down there. The other thing I want to show you guys is look how flat this thing shoots. I mean, like, there's almost no muzzle rise on this thing whatsoever. I mean, like, you could tell that this gun started life as a pistol, that's for sure. I mean, it definitely feels like it. It was already pretty controllable as a pistol, so if you guys see one of these guys, the M85, if you see one, pick it up. Because, I mean, they're great pistols. Now, this is a Zastava. It starts out as a Zastava. I don't know if they're still importing these or not. I don't think, there's a big sting about them not importing them anymore. It is a Serbian-made gun. So made in Serbia, by Zastava, and this is imported by Century. I'm not sure if that's going to show up or not. I'll throw some pictures in close on this thing. You guys have probably been seeing them the whole time. But I have one magazine left for this video, and that's all I've got. The only thing that I want to do from here is go up and check out and see what the velocities are looking like in this thing before we close this video out. .2211, 2244, 2126. So one of the problems that we have this time of year, guys, is that the sun isn't bright enough in this part of the world. So unless it's like right in the middle of the day, there's shadows that are casted on the chronograph this way. You'll notice if you just look underneath there, there's shadow. Well, the way this thing works is there's these two optical eyes here, and they basically see the bullet as it passes by these two white backgrounds, and if there isn't enough light, then it won't be able to read it. So that's why we had to tilt it this way, because the sun's over there, so that we can get enough light on those white things for the thing to basically have enough resolution to pick up the projectile. So I know that looked a little bit funny. Okay, so this thing has the standard trigger in it and safety bar, and this is a bad thing. And a lot of guys are purists and they want the standard trigger in it. Well, the standard trigger is not the same as a machine gun trigger anyway. And the difference being that when they basically said that that component had to not have the flange on it that makes it readily convertible to a machine gun, they basically just said, oh crap, we need a solution, so they just milled the thing off, right? Well, the problem with that is if you throw the safety on really fast, it misses, right? Well, what you didn't see is what happens when, I'm just gonna put that back into battery real quick. All right. You see that? Look at the orientation of the hammer. So again, we're going to work that to the rear. And if I rotate this up like this, I'm gonna try and keep my hand out of the way so you guys can see this. Ready? That's bad, right? You want to turn on the safety and the hammer falls. And some people will be like, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal. Well, yeah, actually it is a big deal. And this is why that is a big deal. So if you were to take, oh, say, like a live magazine and shoot it, right? And then be like, oh, I want to put it on safe. Oh, wow, that's bad, isn't it, right? Yeah, it's super bad. So this, and everybody gets on me for saying this because people don't like Century arms and everything. Like, okay, that's cool, bro. I know that you're biased. I lock my gun up. So that is why the RAK trigger is such a big deal. I just so happen to have one at the shop right now. And when I return home, I'm gonna go ahead and put that sucker in there because it's just a safety hazard. You guys should all check your AKs to see if it will do that, obviously without ammunition, right? But that is just a demonstration of why the RAK trigger is a big deal. They do make them for the Yugos, and I have one as holdover. They sent me some months ago that I'm gonna be throwing in this gun. It's basically to mitigate that issue because we don't, 5.56, fast little bullet, does a number on toes and things like that. We don't want anything like that to happen. Negligent discharges are not cool. So yeah, like mid 100-ish feet per second. And I had the idea that I was going to come up here to the hay bales and shoot the 400 and the 300 with it. And it's the sun's getting a little low. So I tried it a few times and I couldn't. I shot about half a magazine, and I was lucky to hit the gravel on the range, let alone a target on the range. Depleting that kind of energy out of a already somewhat wind challenged cartridge like 5.56, especially the light bullets like we're shooting here today, is just kind of a waste of ammo. So not that we haven't been wasting ammo the entire time, but just keep in mind that that you're going to be range limited with something like that. So if I had a red dot on this, you know, maybe we'll get one of those Midwest rails that that allows us to mount some optics on the front of this thing. Maybe that'll be a good option to maybe see if we can't reach out and touch something with this thing. But as it sits right now, probably not doing it, right? Probably not going to be able to get her done. So I think that the way that we're going to close this one out is we're going to wait just a little bit longer, and we're going to see what this thing looks like after dark, because that's, I think, the best way to close this thing out, since we couldn't get any range shots. Now, the one thing I do want to say is about this thing is a lot of people will misidentify this gun as what's called a Krinkov. And I was actually at a training class where Sonny Pazikas was present, and he was talking about short guns like this, and he was wondering where the term Krinkov came from. So he says that he'd never heard it used in common use when he was over there, right? So it's a completely an Americanized term that has been assigned to these things. He said that they called these short little AKs was called the Sushka, which means, or or is translated to little bitch. So that is the crank off thing. I don't know where it came from either. Maybe if you guys know, you can leave it in the comments down below. Okay, guys and gals, I've allowed the sun to go behind the horizon, as you guys can see behind me. Because I wanted to do this thing in full color. We're not going to wait till total dark outside because, you know, there should be a lot of nice, brightly colored muzzle blast coming out of the end of this guy, and it should look pretty cool. So I'm going to back up. I've got a full mag of, find it here, I'm not quite used to this, of 5.56 here, and this should be fun. So make sure that you invite your friends to join the VSO video revolution here on Patreon. We're good, and we want the full capacity for muzzle burn here, so I'm going to get in the corner. Ready? Here we go. Can't see anything. Oh my gosh. Well, that didn't seem like a full magazine. Oh, that's not fair. That's unacceptable.